Welcome to part 3 of the Intro to 3D Animation in Maya. In this video we're going to be navigating the interface. So when you first open up Maya, you might have a different colored background, and this is just entirely based on personal preference. I like sort of a blue-gray gradient in the background. You can change it if you like. To change it, you need to hold down the Option key and then press the B key, B as in background. And then this will cycle through different background colors. So how do we get around this viewport? Well, we don't get around in a car. No, that was just horrible. How do we navigate around the viewport? 3 terms: orbiting, tracking, and zooming. To orbit around the viewport, hold down the Option key while using the left mouse button. So you can orbit around an object in 3D space. To track, you have to hold down the Option key and the Command key. So both these keys are found to the left of the spacebar on a standard Mac keyboard. If you hold both of these keys down and use the left mouse button, the camera will track left to right or up and down in straight lines. To zoom in and zoom out, hold the Option key and use the right mouse button. At the top of the viewport, we have this menu here. This is our viewport menu. Let's click on Show and make sure we have everything visible. So Show and then All. So all of those boxes should be checked on right now. Now let's head to the side over here. This is called the outliner. If you don't see this, don't worry. I'm going to go over how you can view this window. So this basically shows us everything in the scene. So another way of opening up the outliner is by going to the top where it says Windows and go to the bottom where it says Outliner, and this will bring up that panel. So what exactly is this outliner thing? It's basically a list of everything in our scene. Cameras, lights, objects, you name it, everything that's in your scene can be found here. If the outliner is a floating window and you want to dock it, just simply drag it over to the side. When you see the light blue line, that's when you can let go of the mouse and then it'll snap to the place that you're trying to dock it to. Okay, let's look through our different cameras. So by default, we have a total of 4 cameras. And if you press the space bar, you can enter into this view. Now don't worry if you see a whole bunch of boxes when you press the spacebar. That's normal, and I'll go over that in a minute. So notice at the bottom of each of these views, there's a small label. So we can see here it says side. Up here is our perspective view. This is the top view, and then you have the front view. Beside it, you also have a letter. So front is the Z-axis, the top is the Y-axis, and so on. You can even maximize each window just by hovering over the window with your mouse and then pressing the spacebar. So practice going into different views using your mouse and keyboard. Remember that the mouse has to hover over the area that you want to zoom into. And always look at the bottom label to see what viewport you're in. So right now I'm in the top view, which is orthographic, and orthographic views are 2-dimensional. So it's actually impossible to orbit the camera in these views. But you can still track and zoom. So Option and Command to track, Option and right mouse button to zoom in and out. What are all these boxes? Is something wrong with my screen? Is it glitching? Don't worry. I know this looks very scary at first, but it's actually supposed to make our work faster and more efficient.
Tell me how!
So if you hold the spacebar, then you'll get a better look at the menus here. And if you look at the top over here, you'll see that it actually corresponds with the very top of the application in our toolbar. Some of the items have been rearranged, but for the most part, it's pretty much the same as the options in our toolbar at the top of the screen. So basically, this just makes workflow more efficient. Instead of moving my mouse all the way to the top of the screen to access the toolbar, I can access the toolbar from anywhere in the viewport just by holding down on the spacebar, which is pretty cool. It takes some getting used to, and it's there if you'd like to use it. Okay, next we have our shelves. And they're not shelves for putting books on. What am I trying to say? Okay. So as you can see, each shelf has its own category and it contains all sorts of different icons and buttons inside of it. So what do all these buttons mean? These are basically functions that are regularly used, but you can even add your own shortcuts to these shelves, which we will look at later. Let's go to the poly modeling shelf, and here there are several pieces of geometry that we can create just by clicking on them. So if you hover the mouse over an icon, you'll actually see a brief description of what will happen when you click on that button. Try clicking on the polygon torus, the shape that looks like a donut. Whoa, it's like it appeared out of nowhere. How did that happen?
Oh my word, life is full of surprises. Magic.
Okay, so try moving around the object using the navigation methods we learned earlier. Remember orbit, track, and zooming in and out. Let's click on the torus and press the delete key on your keyboard. I'm going to show you another way of creating geometry without using the shelf buttons. This way is a little bit longer, so you'll see how useful the shelves are in a second. We can access pretty much everything from our toolbar menu at the top. Let's go to the Create menu and then Polygon Primitives. And here you can see there's a larger list of polygonal objects. If you click on torus, you will see the same shape appear in the viewport. I feel like eating a donut now. Okay, let's see how the shape looks like in our orthographic views. You know what to do, right? Just press the spacebar. Anytime an object is highlighted in green, that means it's selected. If you click in the empty space around the object, it will be deselected. Try selecting the torus by clicking on it and off of it. Okay, so I've got some keyboard shortcuts coming at you. Press the number 4 key to view the wireframe mode. The object will appear transparent and you'll only see the wireframe that makes up the object. So the wireframe is basically made up of all the vertices, edges, and faces, basically the polygons that make up the object. This is more useful for things like modeling and whatnot, but it might come in handy when we're animating as well. Press the number 5 key to see objects in the standard shaded view. If you press 6, you will see the textured view mode, but right now we don't have any textures, so you're not going to see any difference. Press number 7 to view the scene with lights. Right now we don't have any lights in the scene, so the object's going to appear a bit dark. Let's go back to our shaded view. We're also going to turn off the wireframe display by clicking on the wireframe unshaded button at the top of the viewport menu. And now we're going to make sure that our object is in its shaded display in each view. So hover the mouse over each view and just press the 5 key on your keyboard. Let's go back to perspective view. If you'd like, you can pause the video. Just spend the next couple of minutes practice using the navigation methods.